My name is Corry, and my husband and I live in Erie with our 8-year-old son, Connor. I am here today to share Connor's story, the day-to-day challenges and victories we have experienced so far in this journey with dyslexia. I feel very lucky to be able to say that in many ways Connor's story is a best-of scenario. But even then, our journey has been filled with frustration, sadness, desperation, anger, and a lot of tears. As early as preschool, my husband and I were concerned about Connor's ability to consistently write his letters correctly, remember sight words, and demonstrate any interest or ability in learning to read. There seemed to be a drastic disconnect between his verbal, his logic, and his processing skills compared with his reading and writing. Conference after conference, teacher after teacher, we were told the same things. You have nothing to be concerned about. Kids learn to read at different speeds. Everything will magically click for him soon, and he will just begin to read. After 2 years of individual work with a reading specialist, summers with a reading tutor, he ended his first grade year at the exact same level he started kindergarten, with the label of an emerging reader, unable to read even the most basic words independently. We were beyond concerned, and Connor was growing more anxious, stressed, and self-conscious. Before he entered 2nd grade, we independently attained the services of an educational specialist at a hefty price tag, and after several sessions, a trip to his pediatrician, we were referred to a child psychologist. Connor started 2nd grade extremely vulnerable, feeling like a failure and a disappointment to his family and his teachers. He was now very well aware of the fact that he was not reading at the same level as his classmates. He was mortified that he was still attempting to read baby books, as he called them, while his friends were reading chapter books. His inability to read was impacting his ability to do all of his homework, which now required him to be able to read instructions, which he could not even begin to understand. We would spend a tear-filled hour and a half working on homework that should take him 15 minutes. He would repeatedly tell us that he wasn't smart and that he was never going to read. Outside of school, he continued to be frustrated and limited in his activities based on his inability to read instructions, labels, signs, prompts on his iPad, just to name a few. He desperately craved the independence that reading provides children. And in my heart, I could tell that he was quickly becoming a sad and defeated child. During the first few weeks of 2nd grade, he cried every day when I dropped him off and every day when I picked him up. At drop-off, he would tell me, "I know I'm not going to get my work done." Despite my encouragement, I couldn't help but feel his heartache. The thought of him sitting at his desk, hour after hour, lost and on edge, was excruciating. At pickup every day, he would report his failures for the day, and one evening, ironically just about a year ago, he had had a horrible day at school. He sobbed the whole car ride home, sobbed into the evening, and then there was quiet. He had gone upstairs, and he was doing some work, and then all of a sudden, he walked downstairs, and before me, he appeared in his t-shirt that says, "I am the worst reader," which everyone now is displaying. Which if anyone knew his sense of fashion, he would be so pumped that people were wearing his shirt. But I couldn't believe that my bright, articulate, creative son could reach such a low point. What were we to do? We were so lost. The teachers that he spent the majority of his day with were unconcerned, and here was this child, not with his heart on his sleeve, but on the t-shirt staring back at me. A child from a loving home that had only sought the best for him, encouraged him every day, who felt so worthless. He said to me, "I don't even know why you and Daddy would love me. I can't read. You probably don't even want me." We continued our work with the psychologist, and after multiple sessions, we were informed by the psychologist in his lobby, in front of other people, including Connor, that he was dyslexic. We weren't surprised. We had already done research and thought that that's the path that it was taking. And we were actually somewhat relieved to have an answer. So at that point, we felt that we had a direction. My husband spoke to a coworker whose spouse is dyslexic and had established a volunteer tutoring program at a local parochial school in Erie, and we were given the name of a tutor who happened, as we learned later, to live 2 doors away from us. So what I thought was a limb, I reached out to her and asked if she would be willing to work with Connor. I can honestly say with that one phone call, my son's life has been forever changed. She is trained in the Barton system, which is a system developed by Susan Barton and is based on the Wharton-Gillingham multisensory process. In the year she has been working with him, 2 days a week for an hour and a half, he has moved an entire grade level in reading. He can now read at what I would predict is probably about a grade below where he should be. The progress he has made in 1 year of receiving specialized multisensory tutoring is just astounding. The light has returned to his world. And while his tutor and the Barton system have made all of the difference, it's not a complicated system, and tutors from all backgrounds, just like his, have learned to be trained to work with these students. I know that I'm running short on time, so I will get to the message that I hope you take away from all of this. Connor's story is the best of story. He is currently enrolled in a small, private independent school, arguably the best in Erie. He has had amazing opportunities to learn and travel, concerned parents, doting grandparents and family, the love and support of his friends and their parents, and the most amazing tutor. And yet, through all of this, he could have easily been broken. I know that Connor's dyslexia will positively shape his life, and that is what we focus on with him. All of the things that he does exceptionally well because of his dyslexia. The parts of it that are challenging, they will shape him too. As he settles in every night for an hour and a half of homework, after an hour and a half of tutoring, he is learning about hard work, dedication, determination, and hopefully empathy. The sadness and anger that I have now is no longer for him. It is for all the children and adults that don't have a best of story. They don't have people fighting for them. The fear, the loneliness, and the sadness that fills the days of the young, undiagnosed dyslexic child can, with proper diagnosis and specialized tutoring, be replaced with hope. Many of these children are probably already receiving help, much like Connor did, but it's not the right kind of help. Connor's classroom has 17 kids in it. Since Connor, 2 additional students have been identified as dyslexic. Many statistics suggest that 1 in 5, or 20% of the population is dyslexic. His classroom is at 18%. That is too high of a number to ignore, and the emotional toll and future financial burden is too costly to ignore. With the answers that we now have, these children should not have to suffer and struggle as they do. With proper screening tools and specialized multisensory training, dyslexics can make great progress in their reading skills. Please support educator training in awareness and support programs like Mission Empower in Erie and the pilot programs across the state. The impact these programs can have is critical to changing the path for our struggling readers. Thank you.